It has been a long day. Yeah. Debate number two for the Department of Future Technologies. You remember a few months back we organized the first one, and as that we have been, developing this together with Sonia, who is representing the Turku business region. And maybe you can say the official welcome.
Oh,
Yes.
Well, welcome. I'm Sonia Hyrysalmi from Turku Science Park, and we are representing the business incubates here in Turku region. And of course, it's really important to us to cooperate with universities, and we have been really happy to have these kind of events with the Department of Future Technologies, and we're really hoping to see more and more of these kind of actions here.
Oh.
So thank you for all of you coming here, and we do have some cocktail session after this event.
So don't get out.
Don't get out.
Yes.
That was the message.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sonia. And just to give a little bit of background, for tonight's debate, well, there has been a lot of discussion on how Finland can provide internationally more in education and how we can serve, the global audience and the people, who really are hungry for learning, how we can have like more significant contribution there. At the same time, there is a lot of talk and maybe also hype around artificial intelligence and data sets and everything. And now we have managed to attract or lure here two important people. We have like the Vice Rector, Professor Riitta Pyykkö here, and then Dr. Harri Ketamo from his company. And what's the name of the company?
HeadAI.
HeadAI.
Yeah.
Okay, that's easy to remember. HeadAI. And you are working, with Peter Westerbacka and both Harri and Peter. Harri, I have a special kind of I wouldn't say relationship, but with Harri, but I think that you were the first PhD student that I was an external or pre-examiner to, and that's way back. So
yeah, that's quite many years ago.
That's a few, not that many,
Not
but
that
anyway. So,
but in this millennium.
Yeah,
anyway.
Exactly. But anyway, Harri came up, with this idea a few months back, and how we read it was that, he basically said that to this tiny town of Pori, which of course people from Pori wouldn't feel that it's a tiny one, but he said that Pori would be an ideal place for training like 150,000 international students per year. And you can all do that with AI almost without hiring new teachers and so. And then we were just curious, like what would be like the vice rector's, reaction to this, like how can we really do that? Because Riitta is the vice rector for education and quality things in education. So I think that maybe should we start not by the lady now, but by the gentleman, and maybe you can challenge her with your message, and then we'll hear what the wisdom says. Yeah. And I hope that we can have a firing dialogue. So I hope that you take your side so that you can also intervene the discussion. So okay.
Yeah. Okay. First, I have to say the correct numbers, because we said that in Pori it would be 5,000 and in Finland it's 150,000. Okay. So and the numbers are based on idea, not based on what we have, but what we should have. Because when we compare the number of external students in Finland, if we want to reach the number comparable to Australia, for example, we should have 150,000. And that's the basic idea behind the numbers. And that roughly means that we have to double the number of the students. And that's basically the big picture. And because we are startuppers, we don't think that what is the current situation, and we didn't even ask, because everyone would have said that it's impossible. But we think it's not, because we have technology, we have artificial intelligence, and with technology we should scale. With technology we have scaled everything. Why can't we scale education? That's the basic question.
But what will happen in Pori exactly? Is it online courses totally or fully, or are these 5,000 coming to Pori?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because of course when we use technology, it can't be just that everybody comes to classroom and sits in the classroom and we have these 20 students in each class and it's exactly 20, not 21, but 20. No, not at all. We have MOOCs, we have blended learning models. And one good question is that should everybody have an academic degree or just a nano degree or some non-formal education? Because what we eventually, why we should think that from Finland point of view, it's a talent shortage. We have a huge talent shortage in Finland right now. And for example, only in technology industry, in less than 5 years, it's more than 50,000 talented people in technology industry in general. And when you can count that technology industry only, that number, how much is the overall number? And from the economy point of view, we know that if we lose one high added value job, we will lose 1 to 5 other jobs. So in that sense, that's really important to, should we have those talent in and plus 50,000 jobs and the cumulative number of 100,000 to 150,000, or should we not have them and not have all the other jobs as well? So that's the big question. And that's why we need education. And in software industry, in automation industry, especially in games industry, it's not that much about what degree you have got. It's more what talent you have, what skills you have. And in that sense, we are not that much saying that everybody must come to Pori. They must rent a 40 square meter room for themselves. No, not at all. It's blended and it's skills based. It's also degree based, but well, all the options are out there because we are therefore getting more talent into our region. And then when we come to global perspective, according to several reports, there are even right now more than 1 billion people looking for education. From those, some 300 million are kids looking for basic and elementary education, but almost 1 billion are looking skills-based education to get a job, get a new job, or just keep the job. And that's something we can also give offering, because in Finland we have a good quality education, we have good teachers. Why shouldn't we teach more than just our own people?
Yeah. Well, I haven't been thinking so much about numbers, and you gave me 15 only.
Oh, yeah. Well, we are a bit conservative here.
In the title, but the question about the future of higher education or education in general, also or secondary, but especially higher education, is a thing I have been thinking a lot lately, and will be, and especially maybe what will be the future of degree education, and on the other hand, other modules or micro degrees or what should we call it, and I'm quite sure that the future, well, I'm sure that people would like to have, for instance, medical doctors with a degree also in the future. It's nice to have a certificated degree, but in very many fields, degrees are really not the future. The future is what competencies you have, what skills you have, and so on. So maybe one, if I think an even very realistic future could be that people have one degree, which, so to say, certifies the skills for long-term education and so on, but they don't take any other degrees, but they take different kind of modules and combine formal education with non-formal education, which will be very much the future. But of course, from the point of view of quality assurance of education, you need somebody or some body to certificate somehow the level of the competencies. And that's one question which has been discussed a lot with MOOCs, that where is the quality assurance of the MOOCs, and that it has been discussed very very much even globally and also in Europe, that what will be how are they assured and maybe not certified, but anyway.
But anyway, just to guarantee the quality. I think that also in MOOCs,
because quality assurance is I'm quite sure that it will still remain in the future, and people are even asking for more accreditations and certifications and so on, because
Yeah, and maybe besides, that's just the quality, because of course quality can be something like predetermined quality, but it might also be quality as understood by, like the students, presence or continuing.
And of course, quality is it's certified by employers.
Yeah,
if employers think that it's enough.
That's one. So to give an example, Microsoft or Cisco certificates are very relevant in working life. But of course, in terms of what we promise for individuals, it's very important that the education is what we promise it should be. Because from individual point of view, if you make a wrong decision, it takes time, it takes money, and in that sense we must be responsible on that what we educate.
That's very important.
Maybe there is also a question of this human touch in courses or in education in general, because we all know that just lectures also can be pretty boring, so you can't really
but they can be also inspiring.
It can be inspiring occasionally. Yeah, but I think that
we don't need more boring lectures, but we need good lectures.
Someone has said, but I think that what easily happens that if there is this sort of not this touch, so you sort of lose the course or you drop out. Like in MOOCs, I think that on the average it's something like the dropout rate is 90 or 90 plus.
Even more.
But on the other hand, I know that in many like contact or face-to-face courses, it can also be very significant. So then the question is also like how to use AI also to strengthen the human touch or the feel of presence.
And I still believe that I don't believe in fully online degrees, especially at bachelor level, because you need this face-to-face contact, and that's a very, very core of academic education. But maybe when you all these intelligence things
and it is kind of
develop, so maybe there can be also a real interaction, but so far.
And also I think that nowadays we don't have much this face-to-face. We have like face-to-PowerPoint relationship. We have like a teacher and we have the audience, and they are both like watching or looking at the PowerPoints. So I mean that we don't possibly have this sort of
and when you're looking PowerPoint, you compete with your PowerPoint against the Facebook.
Exactly.
So that's the problem. But coming back to MOOCs, I think when we discuss the drop rates, we should also check who are the dropouts. It's us, 35 to 50 years old, who already have one degree, and we check is it interesting or not. So we are causing the dropout rate because we just want to check what is cool.
She already dropped out.
So I still I still think that the MOOCs has been. I still think that MOOCs has done really good work by showing that you can really run a good quality education for big groups. It's more like delivery rather than anything else. The MOOCs 1.0. The MOOCs 2.0 is more the human touch, what it's going to be, and then we can use artificial intelligence to even scale the human touch. With MOOCs we scale the delivery. Not that much the pedagogy, not the human touch, but the delivery. And I think even though MOOCs is not the thing anymore, it was a very useful period to see how we can really scale the delivery of education, because that's the only way to take the education for everyone.
I think also that the technology is assisting pedagogy.
I mean, you said something like like we should have that one degree, which is more like a ground, and then you can plant like different whatever modules there that would grow into soil or whatever so then that would actually set quite
and most people
climate.
will be combining working and studies and it won't be like this that you just finish the secondary education, then you come to the university and take your degree, and then we'll be working until retirement.
But that will change our universities quite a lot. So how would you see that the universities change? It's not only like doubling the
and it will change. It has already changed the universities in the sense that we don't have any more a monopoly for higher knowledge or higher education, because that has happened already. So we have to I think that we have somehow to redesign higher education also from that point of view, because we will have a role also in the future. But it's changing.
It is because we used to have a monopoly, but now we might not even have a poly. I mean, at all, you know, so that, you know, and so because it might be that, you know, somehow, you know, at least in some areas, I think that, you know, for example, in game business, you know, there are, you know, some, you know, entrepreneurs who want to avoid, you know, the university, any touch of university, as long as they can, you know, because they might think that they get spoiled a little bit by, you know, this maybe conservative or, you know, touch of the university. So what's your, like, medicine or, you know, to make, you know, universities, you know, strong again?
Well, while you think,
you have an idea.
Make universities great again.
Yes.
There needs to be some discipline, you know.
I was going to say that going back to global scale, I think we don't have one thing called university. There are very different type of systems and very different kind of understanding what learning is in general. And if we just check OECD reports, we can see that the word university can mean, in Finland, all the universities belongs to in top, 5% maybe.
Even less.
Or even the best two. But if we take the University of Applied Sciences, and then we are in 5 to 10. And anyway, every Finnish university is really good in global scale. And when we check the OECD reports, we can even see that the worst universities don't produce equally the same as our vocational education. In some cases, I don't mean the academic skills, but skills in general. So in that sense, we have to be also proud on our vocational school. But in global scale, if we can even bring, let's say, good quality, top 10% university available for everyone, we have really much, even though we understand that it's less than the Finnish university. But because we have good system here, we shouldn't just keep it here. We should somehow try to, take it everywhere.
I think the point is not only to make university available, but what kind of university and how should we change it and redesign, as I said, because it can't be only the university of today. Well, so far I think that universities can, for instance, analytical thinking, critical thinking better than machines. I don't know. You are now developing, for instance, an assessment machine. But anyway, so we don't have monopoly on data or knowledge, but maybe still somehow not monopoly, but poly for wisdom. I think it's maybe this is maybe a bit high, but anyway, and the human touch and meeting collaborative ways of working and meeting intelligent people and so on. And so what I would like to emphasize a lot is also changing our ways of working, because university tradition, especially in Finland, but I think that also in many other countries, especially European, has been a tradition of autonomous lonely rider, and it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a time of delivering just knowledge.
Exactly.
But we have to find new collaborative ways of working, and this gives an added value.
Yeah, and this is for example, what happens now in engineering education in India, that because it's still based on this model of delivery information, so only 25 of graduated engineers are employable in the first place. So 75% can't even be employed after, you know, the big extended family has invested a lot in education. But anyway, so it seems to be that you agree in a lot of you know, issues. But you know, what about then, you know, this change of the universities? You tend to agree that universities need to change, but are we talking about incremental or radical change, or, you know, and should we break everything and then, you know, collect the pieces and build something new out of it, or should we somehow, you know, add another floor? Actually, we need one more, but that's.
I believe more in evolution than revolution.
I think
of course, maybe it would be nice to break everything, but I don't think it's and what is hard for a university leader what I have realized is that we don't have so many tools.
Yeah.
And the only tool is to motivate and to explain and recommend and so on, because we can't give orders. It doesn't work in the university. So this mutual understanding and discussion is the only way, because you have to find the motivation in yourself. Because if I say that now, Erkki, you will do that, you won't.
Now, you got it.
Now you just have to change.
Exactly.
But we won't get a good debate, because I totally agree with you. We should break something else than university, because university degree means that you are ready to do some 5 years work and you are motivated and ready to do the work. But we should break our understanding of what is education and how you get your education, because it's pretty much what you said.
And what I repeat always in these graduation ceremonies of faculties is that the most important learning outcome has been if you have learned to learn. So this continuous, it is if you are eager to learn more, and that's the most important learning outcome of a university degree. Not some.
But to some extent, I think that that's certainly ideal. But you know, now that I have been actually today, I was meeting with our occupational health people, and they just told that now, I mean, if you think of student healthcare, now the queues are so long that students have, because students have so much mental challenges nowadays, that they can't even get to the healthcare at all. So is it also that now our current education system is too industrialized, so we are following something like white and science process where people need to do this 55 whatever, and they are quite stressed. So this might be something that I think we need to rethink, and maybe technology would help there.
Yeah, and many students are very competitive today. That's also, I think it starts already in gymnasiums, in secondary education,
or even earlier.
And that's one point. Of course, one point is that we can talk more openly about these things now. And when I have discussed with the healthcare people from the UTHS healthcare, they say that in fact maybe there is not that much increased, but people are talking more openly, and they are trying to find help.
And I would also highlight that why we are always talking that is there something wrong with our school when kids are not doing well? What is wrong with our society in general? Because there are that many factors outside the school that also affects the stress and why you feel that you have to compete on everything. I'm pretty sure our school don't do that. Because our school, we have the smallest school hours in any place of the earth. We have the smallest hours for homeworks.
Yes,
globally.
Yes, we do,
So it's not the school's fault. We have other challenges.
Other challenges, yes. And I have sometimes been thinking that although the young people of today have so many opportunities and life can be so wonderful, but on the other hand, I'm quite happy that I don't have to be a young person today.
But I think that it is quite performance oriented, even if it's sort of economical. But because then after that, people have, like even young kids, they have all the hobbies and schedule and so. So I think that, and then we talk about learning by doing, but today we were also talking about learning by being. So you should also have that. I talked, like maybe one year ago, or whatever, I met like 2 second-year students. The other one they were a couple. He was studying medicine and she was studying law. And they said that now there is a like short holiday for them. We were on the way to St. Petersburg. But they said that it's very clear that they are working like 7 days a week. And if they want to have a coffee with each other, I mean, they are living together. So they need to make an appointment so that they can set their synchronize their calendar. They can meet in cafeteria with each other. So it gets a bit tough. And when I see like especially our international doctoral students, so I see them working all the time, and I don't know if this is very healthy. So I think also that technology should also help. I mean, technology basically should be there to help us to live more comfortable life and make things easier. But now it seems to be that technology actually makes things much harder, and
exactly.
What's
and
your
takes all the time.
Exactly. Now we need to how we can start relaxing.
Yeah, that's maybe the question, because how much you are connected. That's maybe the one thing, especially in working life. I can't say anything about spending hours in work, but anyway, it is enabled by technology to working all the time and being connected all the time.
Somehow, you know, we need this. No, I think that we need this relaxation technology, and you know, something like retreat.
Or relaxation without technology.
Yeah, even that to some extent. I do that also. Yeah, I do that. I can manage that. You know. But I was wondering that, you know, should we have some you know, questions or comments, you know, from the audience? So you have,
Actually, I am Kurdish and I have experience. Since 1999, since 2016, according to the statistic Finland, the academic Kurdish people, the population of the Kurdish people is 12,226, but the academic person during 26 years, it's 108.
Yeah.
And it's very low. And I try to find what's the reason. And actually now I am working in this area. Of course, they have trauma because they are coming from Middle East. And also, they have some reason that you mentioned, maybe society. But one of the reasons that I have found is learning disability. And learning disability is related. Sometimes it's not handicap. It's different because sometimes maybe they have high level of IQ, but still yes. And I try to find some solution, and I find in the United States some system in the universities. They have special education, but not like special education for the deaf or blind or handicapped people. Special education which is correlated with the culture, correlated to the other factors that you mentioned. But in Finland, I can see that it is the one of gap between Kurdish people and educational system, and maybe it's very important issue that we should be considered. Because in 3,500 person, one academic in Finland, in 115 academic. And it's very, and I'm sure that in the future they get a lot of problems for this society.
I agree that there's a big unutilized population in our immigrant population. So that and that's true that universities have not done what they should do here. And maybe technology.
I don't know if the technology might help some gaps, but definitely we must understand more what are the cultural gaps we should really understand. Because I, as far as I'm not specialist in this area, but I have understood that the vocabulary, for example, for job titles, the occupation names are very different in Middle East than Europe, and that might be one case. The skill words are a bit different, so those might be just one explanation, but not all. And we should understand that more. So it's great. It's great you are here.
And I also think that, you know, when you talk about special education, I think that much of the special education is related to sort of cognitive issues. And you know, whereas we should also talk about emotional issues and attitudes. So we can also do this sort of not only like artificial intelligence, but also artificial or affective computing, if you will, so that, you know, how we can address, you know, these questions that, you know, you got broken earlier in your life, and you know, like what you lost, and you know, to somehow like use a kind of therapeutic approach there. Or we also talk nowadays about empathic computing, so that, you know, it accommodates, you know, issues which are related to your life story and, you know, like life experience. I think that there, you know, technology should actually, you know, have like lots of opportunities. And I think that definitely, you know, that's a yes.
I'm from the Faculty of Education, and just like 1 month ago we talked about this issue, and it's like in Finnish case we have two paths in our education system, the Swedish language path and then the Finnish path, and this goes from primary school to universities. We have Åbo Academy and then we have University of Turku, And there is really big problem now since the schools cannot handle different languages. And that's something that's like we're talking about learning disabilities and so on, but in like international students it's like really important that the society and the system, there is problems how they handle different languages, and that could be something that with technology we could use it in our classrooms to make it like more easy to be there without knowing Finnish language.
And in principle, well, we should have good opportunities here in Turku because our training school is very special. It's different from all other university training schools because the percentage of non-Finnish speaking pupils is 62 or 63 or something like that, more than half. So the future teachers can train in a very multicultural environment, and it's very different. Mostly these university training schools are elite schools in city centers, but this is very special, and it's very important not only for our teacher education, but also I think it's very important for the region, this Varissuo region, because the school is koulu keskellä kylää, it's very important, and it's very different, and we have big opportunities, but we haven't done yet enough.
In the whole world.
It is. I think this is something to add, because we also have very nice learning language technology group here, and I mean this would be possible to better make better use of. I mean, okay, they are doing wonderful things, but also like we talk about like applying in that particular context. So that's a very good, and certainly can be promoted by AI and you know.
I think technology can partially help, but we have couple of cultural challenges, and I apologize, I'm a bit provocative now, but in Finland we tend to think that if I can't speak perfect English, I shouldn't speak at all. So that's one limitation, and I can see that also in schools. And other maybe going for University of Applied Sciences, at least several years ago, maybe not now anymore, but several years ago, the international students and exchange students are dealt as a one group. They haven't been mixed with the Finnish students or Swedish students. They were taken as a one group, and well, is that inclusion?
Yeah.
It's the same problem.
Yeah, exactly the same. And then we have exchange students part.
We are just have been. There's going on an evaluation of our English teaching in English and English master programs, and it has been very clear that although if the program is very multicultural and there are both Finnish students and students from other European countries and then outside EU, it works quite well. But if it isn't, then it happens just this, that the international students only talk with each other, and they are not getting integrated, and even the student unions are not always doing what they could do. And for instance, we got one comment from a student we interviewed that if a student union all events are in Finnish, who finds them?
Exactly.
And it was very, very good to have these comments. But so might happen an integration in the academic environment and the group, but not in the university in general, and not at all in society.
And I think that now recently I've been talking quite a lot with our like undergraduate students, but also with PhD students, and I see that we could do much better for integration students, not only like between, but also between the study years or something like that. But that maybe would require more like this sort of collaborative project, where you are tackling a certain project. I mean, you just mentioned before we started that we are still, and I was happy to hear that it is still in planning that we should have that sort of learning technology laboratory, something like that. Which would not only like where which could gather also students to together work for learning technologies and also researchers. So that would also be a kind of meeting place, because I think that we definitely need this encounter and meeting much more. And then I think that also this technology, very like matching or dating technologies, would actually help. Yes.
I was thinking about this because I was at Jyväskylä, this higher education institutions in days for internationalization, and what popped up there in different discussions was that international students feel alone in Finland. And I have a master's program in international law and human rights at Åbo Academy, and I can see that also that even though it's a kind of the content of the master's program is very international and it's multicultural and so, but still it's a problem to get these students together. And I was really thinking there in Jyväskylä, maybe we should have some sort of an app that you when the students come, because they have of course some mentors in the beginning, but then afterwards who goes to coffee with them, and they you would have some sort of a friendship service at the Turku Åbo area, and you could then, and I'm interested in having, I mean not now dating application.
No, I understand. I think everybody understands that it's dating with trust and friendship type of thing.
Yeah, maybe I'm so old, so I don't know. Maybe they have some sort of system already. But I think it's awful. Main concern is that they are alone.
Or even we had at one faculty we got comments that they themselves form a, as they called, happy bubble. But they are not at all integrated with the other parts of the academic community.
We have these sort of families or clans or something like that, even within a department, and so it's very hard to. Okay, but yes.
But when you think about scaling up those courses, if you teach, for example, 10,000 students, how to, if in small groups there is this kind of shortage of communication, then when you scale up the education, I think that this problem kind of becomes a bigger problem.
I think this is not that straightforward, but trying to answer anyway, because scaling the education means that when we are doing education, we are always limited by resources, not only the money, but also the number of qualified teachers, and that's the bottom line. So our education system, especially when talking about university education, adult education or corporate training, it's not based to make contacts. It's based to learn something. And knowledge building, even though shared in communities, can be done online. It doesn't mean anything on the friendship side or being loneliness. So in that sense, I won't mix the friendship and how many friends you have, how many human contacts you have, to the way how we do the education. Because those are two different things, I would say. Where we can put effort is that when we can do good quality education, scale it for 10,000, what we do else? Can we enable that we do group works in cafeteria, where you have to establish a group based on your previous understanding, based on some profiles, we can suggest you to establish groups and do works together. So the scaling doesn't mean that we are saying that you have to be on your 10 square feet room and don't go out. We can also use technology to establish groups and also to make people work together. And maybe when we can scale the education, we can also save teachers or professors resources to run group works, 1 to 5 works, where those 5 can definitely work as a team. So it's not that when we scale the education, we take the loneliness in. It's more than how we design the education or how we design our process in general.
Important issue, and also because learning these communication skills, I think it's really important. I'm a mathematician, and I think that if a mathematician knows communication skills, then it's a good mathematician.
That is really like future professor. Actually, you know, in the primary education, we are now starting or launching this project together with Pääskyvuori School and this school in Dhaka that Heikki Salmela is supporting, and we are building a kind of virtual reality bridge between these schools so that they can share, you know, like the common ground, and later go to AR and this remote sensing, so that they really can feel or even touch each other or you know, taste, maybe not taste each other, but kind of, so that you know, we use all the senses, and I think that's very important. But then the interesting question is that, you know, how can you scale up that, because it might also be that, like, if you have, like, because we could of course happily have like like primary schools from every different country. But then like how can you sort of navigate there in this sort of network? But it is, I think that, and of course, I mean, talking about the contest, I think that now, at least a few years ago, there was a lot of discussion on pedagogical well-being, and that's related to what you said, that you can feel comfortable. And on the other hand, you are comfortable, but on the other hand, you are also comfortable to get out of your comfort. So it's something like that. But I think that it mostly means that we take into account, the emotions. And especially in this sort of like scaled up learning environment, that's probably quite interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also a kind of challenge, and maybe now that we talk about like rethinking university, because this has been the theme of today, like Renaissance by refugee scientists. Also, is like maybe we could identify some like free zones within academia where you can do whatever you like, also in terms of education, so that those would be like highly experimental areas, and I think that this might be something, and also which would be attractive for industry, because I think we should be able, and it's very, and maybe also they could be places where we can have like students from different backgrounds, to work together. We organized a few weeks back, kind of research retreat. I every now and then take some of my students like to Eastern Finland, to Karelia, remote places. But anyway, we were talking quite a lot about like the loneliness and you can't share everything. I mean, of course, no one can share everything, but it's important that you are kind of comfortable, and it is possible to, especially foreign students and also Finnish students, especially in IT, are quite lonely still, and even if we have all these communication technologies. Okay, any other questions from the audience? I think that starts to be time to say, like, the summary or concluding words, because now the wine bottles are, no, I don't know, it's maybe just a box, but so maybe we'll say.
Well, I think this scaling versus communication and so on, that's still a question, and in general, I believe in these blended forms where you have online courses, online learning as a part of the learning process, and then you have face-to-face meetings and so on, and discussions and so. But I hope, of course, that the technology will help in making 10,000 students communicate and interact and make friends and so on. But it's still a bit question mark for me.
But you would be happy to double the student numbers at University of Turku, and you would believe that technology can help in that?
If technology can help, I would be happy to.
But if we make the technology to help.
Because we can't double them without technology. I think that's the point. That's the point.
And then we should just come up. Yes.
Yeah, that's very, very good said. We can't double the number of students without the technology. We definitely need it. But at the same time, we need also a lot of research on the areas of pedagogical design, how we really want to build our schools. And also what other non-formal ways we can have in controlled way. So there is also trust that the education is worth something. But as my final couple of sentences, we too often discuss only from Finnish point of view when we think that there is that 1 billion people looking for education. What we can also do to take education really outside the Finland as well.
We are now opening some kind of campus in Namibia.
We are opening.
Or you are.
I'm just recruiting. I already have started to ask when students are graduating, so when they can come join me to Namibia. So, but that's also. I think that that's really like a very exciting setting. But I also think that now that you seem to agree to a high extent, I hope that we can continue this. Like university business collaboration, and really like tackle these grand challenges of education. And we have a very, very nice faculty here, that represents all the different talents and nationalities and cultures and so. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Please,
Thank you.
you know, there is some wine here.
Was it wrong that we agreed in so many?
Yeah, to some extent, yes. But you know, anyway, it was quite comfortable, you know. You know. So yeah, were they agreeing too much? Was it? You know, research. Yeah, okay. But thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.